Good morning, good afternoon, or as the case may be, good evening, and welcome to Distribution Strategy Group's Wholesale Change. I'm Jonathan Bine with my delightful partner, Brian Hopkins. Hey, Brian.
Hey, Jonathan. I haven't been called delightful in a long time.
Well, let's keep that rally going.
That's awesome.
Keep that rally going. We're going to be talking today. We got a wonderful guest, Justin Racine from Proficient. He's head of the Unified Commerce Strategy, and we'll be inviting him on in just a moment to talk about elevating the B2B customer experience. Brian, B2B customer experience is near and dear to our hearts, right?
Yeah, I tell you what, I've spent the better part of 30 years trying to figure this out, and having Justin here, especially the way things are changing so fast, I'm really excited to hear what he has to say.
Absolutely. We're in for a great discussion. I want to talk for just a moment about our upcoming Profit and Productivity Conference. Terrific conference. Got rave reviews last year. It's set for November 10 to 12 in Chicago, right near the O'Hare Airport. Some of the topics include smart pricing and order automation, inventory, warehouse, and delivery optimization, customer-centric growth, data-driven decision-making, workforce, and sales productivity. So it's really looking to get at more really I would say the traditional profitability topics around pricing, cost to serve, financial side of things, but really where can we also get these productivity lifts in different parts of the business that create efficiency for us. We've got a terrific lineup of speakers so far, and it's getting better. We have John Weborg from Stellar Industrial, the CEO, Alex Chizovsky, Director of Analytics Consulting at the Bundy Group, one of the leading economic voices in the industry. Janet Zelenka, terrific former CIO and CFO at Stericycle and Ascendant. Randy McLean, longtime leader at Waypoint Analytics, and really, I'd say, thought leader in managing cost to serve. Dwayne Robert, president of Summit Electric. So feel free to scan the QR code or go to www.profitandproductivity.com. Moving on to our sponsors, Distribution Strategy Group is its own sponsor, and we have three software products, part of the Distributor RX software suite. First one is Customer Experience RX, where we're gathering feedback that is going to allow you to improve the customer experience that you deliver to your customers. We're going to give you the information you need in a convenient format to do that. Employee Experience RX, similar thing, except on the employee side. We need to get feedback to make sure your culture attracts and retains top talent. Both of these are survey mechanisms with rich analytics and expert counsel. And then the third piece is Demand RX, which allows us to estimate the sales potential in an account by product line to discover hidden opportunities in your customer base. Our next sponsor is Epicor. Epicor is a longtime sponsor of Distribution Strategy Group. I think literally our longest sponsor. They've been with us for about 5 years now, and I'm searching for the read-in thing here. Just give me a second. Okay, Epicor. Epicor is a software company that has helped thousands of wholesale distributors for over 50 years to integrate their business functions into one ERP system. Because of their deep experience in distribution, they understand your world and your unique challenges. Epicor helps companies consolidate systems into one ERP that's ready to use out of the box and sets you up for future growth. If you're interested in new technology, they'd love to chat with you to understand what you're looking for. You can reach out to Epicor at epicor.com/distribution. And I'm certain that there are a number of companies on this call who are using Epicor. It's that pervasive in the industry. Our next sponsor is Helixia, a new sponsor. Here's what you need to know. Inside sales teams spend up to 20% of their time on repetitive tasks, answering product questions, checking availability, processing routine orders. But in distribution, speed is everything. Contractors expect instant answers, and when they don't get them, the customer experience suffers and orders slip away. That's where Helixia comes in, the first no-code AI automation platform for distributors. In minutes, you can deploy an AI inside sales rep that connects with your catalog, your ERP, and your communication channels, delivering fast, accurate answers every time. With Elixia, your customers get the seamless experience they expect, answers in seconds, orders placed instantly, no waiting. At the same time, your inside sales reps get hours back each week to focus on building relationships and winning more business. Book a demo now at alexia.io/demo. And by the way, I've seen them build these AI inside sales reps literally in minutes. It's very impressive. Like to welcome Justin Racine, the principal of the Unified Commerce Strategy at Perficient.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me. Pleasure to be here and looking forward to this conversation today.
Well, thank you for being here. If you would maybe just take a minute and tell us a little bit about Perficient.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. So Perficient is a global consultancy and agency that is really transforming the world of digital through AI. We are based in St. Louis here in the United States, but operate really all over the world. So we have onshore, nearshore, and offshore capabilities. And we're really focused in on driving outcomes for our clients. So really trying to get in the weeds of what are the problems, what are the challenges, what are the opportunities, and then working towards solutions through technology. So we really take the Steve Jobs approach, if you will, which is working backwards to the technology, not starting there. So, what are the problems? What are the opportunities? How can we make things better? And then what technology will alleviate that and help that become a reality? And myself, I'm principal over our commerce strategy group. So I sit within our commerce umbrella. And my role is to really work with our clients to help them achieve elevated revenue and growth, but also doing so in a way that exceeds and delights customers and their expectations through various different CX experiences and different things that buyers and consumers interact with.
And you actually have background in distribution prior to Perficient, right?
I do. Yeah, I came from the distribution space. I ran commerce and marketing for a few different medical supply distribution organizations for about 10 years before coming over to Perficient. I actually was a client of Perficient before I came over, and then switched the sides of the table, if you will, and put my consulting hat on and joined Perficient February of 2020. So I'm coming up on 6 years here next year. And yeah, I spent the first part of my career working in B2B distribution, working for various organizations there and finding ways to do some of the things I just articulated. So very familiar with the space. I've sat on that side of the table before and always love talking about distribution.
Well, as we were discussing in the pre-show, customer experience is near and dear to our heart. And I think there have been a lot of changes in what customers of distributors expect, particularly in the digital realm. Could you talk to us now about the evolution of what customers expect, where it's been, where it is, and perhaps where it's going?
Yeah, I mean, I think the best term that I always use to describe that is you're only as good as your last best experience. So consumers and buyers on a daily basis are inundated with experiences, whether they're going to a coffee shop or buying something online, regardless of where they're at, they are always experiencing things. And in some instances, they're experiencing new things that delight them and surprise them and make them happy, which is what we want. So I think the big shift, I would say, specifically in the world of B2B is that B2B buyers are no different than you and I as consumers. We have different experiences in our life that we see and we interact with, and there's a lot of psychology behind that. But I think the biggest thing is that B2B buyers are expecting that now in their work world as well too. If another shopping experience in their own personal life makes it easy for them, why is this B2B shopping portal such a pain in the butt to use? So I think that shift has been happening for some time. I would say the last 5-10 years we've seen more and more of B2B buyers look for really good, compelling experiences that really make their life easier. Because at the end of the day, a lot of people who are buying in these B2B portals, it's not the only job they have. If anything, it's a hassle for them to go in and purchase because, sometimes they're not just buying one light item. In distribution, they could be buying 20, 30, 40 items at a time. So how do you condense that time down and make it easy for them and intuitive for folks to buy? And I think that's been a big shift. We see a lot of B2B portals that look like they've been built in 1995, and they've been that way because of the complexities that are included within there. But organizations, you need to realize that your customers are now going to be inundated with more areas to find products. We've seen that with Amazon. We're going to see it with ChatGPT and Perplexity and Copilot and all these chat-based LLMs. So the competition to find products is going to change. And though you might have great contract pricing with your customer and your sales rep is well liked, at the end of the day, customers and buyers are creatures of habit. And before long, there'll be new channels coming in. And I think all of us need to just be prepared to ensure that we can be active within the channels our customers are in.
And when you think about the AI, are you thinking about that before somebody gets to a site or when they're on the site as well?
Both. I mean, I think in the world of commerce, there's kind of three use cases of AI and where it's really going to be super, super popular. So if there's anything that you take away from this conversation around AI, it's these 3 points. So the first is that artificial intelligence is going to create this idea called generative commerce, which basically means you go to a chat-based LLM and you ask a question, where can I find the best hiking boots and tent? I'm taking my family to, a vacation. And that specific chat-based LLM will live on a brand site. So maybe that's on, northface.com or wherever. And instead of you as a consumer or a buyer going to a product detail page or a product listing page, the actual experience will be generated for you right then and there. And it will be generated for you based upon what you ask, but also based upon what the LLM knows about you. What have you bought in the past? What have you not purchased in the past? How many times do you visit the site? What's your behavior? And that will actually be a generated page that will be built on the fly that will have educational content. It will have the products that might be the best fit for you. Might even have videos or AI assistants to help answer questions. So that's the first piece, is this idea of generated commerce within that brand experience. But the second half of that is really, what we're calling autonomous agents, where you might be in ChatGPT or you might be in Perplexity or Copilot, and you're needing to buy products, and the actual LLM chat is sending a autonomous agent to that brand experience or to that site to find information and pull back within that, we'll call it ChatGPT experience. So that agent will visit sites for you on your behalf and pull information. ChatGPT does that today. You can ask a question and ask for the best sunglasses, and it will pull that back in. But it brings up an important point around how are your products discoverable? The traditional ways of search engine optimization for product discovery in Google are going to shift because you need to be relevant now in these chat-based LLMs. So when we talk about, generative commerce, those are the kind of the first two. And the last is this is really kind of the big epiphany, is that, chat-based LLMs, ChatGPT, Perplexity, they're going to be the new areas where you can actually go and buy products directly within that UI. So can that replace Amazon, and will it? Probably. But also think about it this way. If you are if you're in the medical supply space and you're buying products from a distributor, maybe you typically place an order with 2 or 3 different distributors and 2 or 3 different manufacturers. You could potentially down the road consolidate that into a chat GPT where it's going to order for you on all those different channels in one solution, and essentially a marketplace, if you will. And that would be actually connected to your account. That would be connected to your contract pricing. All of those sort of API hooks would be built in place to make that a reality. So is that going to happen tomorrow? No. The examples I just articulated are 3, 4, 5 years down the road. But if you are on a job site and you need to buy products and you're a B2B buyer, it's much easier to go to ChatGPT and enter in certain things versus going to 3 different brand sites to get what you need. So that is going to become, I think, more of a reality down the road. And B2B organizations, as well as all brands, are going to have to start thinking like software companies, software organizations, thinking composably versus the maybe traditional e-commerce storefront way of doing things.
And I think what's important about that is the agent is not going to pick up the phone and call a sales rep when it gets to the information and doesn't get what it needs, right? So if you're a distributor and you don't have your site lined up the right way and it's not optimized for the answer engine versus the SEO engine, that agent's going to just bypass your site and go where it gets the next best piece of information.
Oh, 100%. It's a great point, Brian. And yes, like that's why, PIM, product information management systems, are going to become way more relevant. But it's not only that, in addition to what you said, it's the speed of which it can pull information back. So if your taxonomy isn't in a good place and it's trying to go to the site and it's hitting 404 errors, or you don't have an item description or an image loaded in, it's not going to see it as relevant and it's not going to pull it back in. So if the autonomous agent can find things on the competitor site in 10 seconds, but it takes 50 seconds on your site, where is it going to go the next time? Well, it's like, hey, I was able to bring relevant information back quickly that customer actually purchased. I can track that activity. So why would I go to the other site in the future? Because the authoritative figure is going to be where the actual transaction happens. So it's vitally important that, the product information and the search, on-site search, it's a huge piece of it, is set up in a way that is conducive to pulling relevant information back that actually gets that buyer to purchase.
Looks like we've got a question, Jonathan, from one of our listeners and viewers. It says, where does customer service come in, right? So if the agent, is it only determining where to go based upon the price for the entire buying decision? What's your point of view on that?
Yeah, so it brings up an interesting point. Like customer service agents, this has been, I'm going to preface this with, if you've been in the B2B space for a while, you've heard the death of the B2B salesman. Andy Hoare talks about this a ton, has talked about it a ton. And I've, tend to agree with most of his points, but, our salespeople, or did salespeople go away because of digital commerce? No, their role just changed. And the same holds true with customer service. I think there's always going to be a place for human to human interaction. And this is my sort of also big epiphany on the world of AI, is that humans require human to human connection. And as much as you can make an autonomous agent or an agentic agent feel like a human, oftentimes people still want to talk to a real person or still want to interact with a customer service rep that they've known and worked with for 10 or 15 years. It's part of the psychology behind of why B2B buyers buy from some organizations. It's not just pricing or a good experience. It's, I always talk to, Mark in customer service or Jane in customer support. I've known them for 10 or 15 years. We've actually gone out and got drinks together. That relationship stuff is so important, and it's not going to totally go away. What the world of agentic agents will do is allow Mark or Jane, that support or service agent, to be far more effective, because in theory, maybe their voice gets cloned, maybe their tonality and the way that they interact actually migrates its way over to answer questions on a baseline standpoint very quickly and easily. And when elevated white glove service is needed, then they can actually pick up the phone. But there's no distinction between the two, which allows Mark and Jane as a customer service agent to still remain valuable and vital to the success of the business. It just allows them to do 3-4x more service support in the tonality that customer wants anyways. So I still think that they will become relevant. They may not be as busy in the weeds as answering quick and easy questions, but they're still going to be able to be a support agent that helps build the continuity and connectivity and the loyalty of those customers. So I hopefully that answers the question. I think
I think so. And I think the question behind the question really is, distributors have long held, especially the small to medium sized guys, that, hey, our experience that you have with us when you talk to us or interact, with back to personalization, that's what the differentiator is, right? The products are relatively all the same. It's the level of intimacy that we bring to you in the interaction. And I think that's where the question comes from, is when things digitally move forward, how does that still play a role?
Got it. No, that makes sense. And the intimacy, like I kind of articulated, will always, I feel, be there.
Mm.
You can only, the autonomous agents are helpful, but at the end of the day, like, people want to work with people. And after spending time on the distribution side, I've seen that firsthand with sales reps, and there's a emotional, psychological piece there that I don't think will ever be replaced by an autonomous agent. And humans are smart enough to know when they're talking to an actual person versus an AI bot. So I still think that's going to be important.
Yeah, as good as they are, they're not there yet.
They're not there yet. We talked about this in the pre-show a little bit, and this is a question in the space of, will agentic agents, will AI ever be conscious, right? Is it like, it's like Terminator, where, like, are they going to come and take over? And in theory, they can't. They won't be, because they're not conscious. They don't. AI agents don't have a soul. They don't have consciousness that's built in. Can they be coded to feel conscious or sentient? Yes, absolutely. They can be coded that way. But it never fully will replace the intuition, the emotion, the psyche of what humans, we all have. That it will never be there. It will be helpful for us. Like, we're going to have agents that will do things, but we're always going to require human to human connection. And I think you've even seen that if you look at some of the statistics out there around social media, and Gen Z and Gen Alpha. Obviously, social media is a big piece of it, but you're seeing a lot more younger generations move into human to human interaction versus living in a
Yeah.
social digital world. So, I think that just proves that, humans require human connection and human contact. So my opinion is that, while we are going to have a lot of changes in the space, there's still going to be a human component that won't be
It
lost.
has to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think one scenario that may emerge for companies is, as the AI stuff comes online in customer service and sales, there may be fewer sales and customer service people in your company in 2030 than there are now. But
Yeah.
there won't be zero. And if we tie it back to, the one of the key ideas from Death of a B2B Salesperson, one of the key ideas was order takers go away, consultative salespeople remain.
Yep.
And that same concept is going to apply to the customer service folks. So you might have dedicated customer service and sales for the top 20% of your customers. And then you might have the agentic AI handling a good portion of the rest. But there's got to be a key proviso. I can push a button and get to a human. We've all had that experience where you're dealing with a bot and you're just sitting there screaming agent, 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 and it's doing everything it can to prevent you from getting to a real human, right?
Yeah.
And they get more creative in ways to prevent you from talking to a real human. It's like an arms race.
It is, and it shouldn't. Excuse me, it shouldn't be, and that's the big thing too. Is many times today we're chatting with a bot or whatever, and we actually have to ask for an agent. It will get to a place where the agentic agent, the AI, will understand when it's time to introduce a human, and in doing so, hopefully bridge that gap. The interesting thing, and this is where I believe the human and AI comes together, is that, if my name is Mark and I'm a customer service agent, when that chat is initiated, whether I know that person or not, it should come across as, hey, this is Mark chatting with you. And as I'm chatting with Mark, it's not really him, it's an agent, it's AI. But when something is happening, or when I need to speak to Mark, it can actually come into the chat and be himself a human. And that does a few things. One, it provides continuity and familiarity
Mm.
of Mark, so that when that happens again, it's like, oh, hey, Mark, good to talk with you again. And in theory, Mark is going to be understood by the AI and how he responds and the jokes he makes, and it feels like Mark, even though it may not be him. And that is really where it's going to be an extension of customer service, where Mark is still important. He may not be taking as many orders or in the weeds tasks, but his personality still pulls through on the AI in a way that is able to connect with that buyer. And that, in my opinion, is the sweet spot. And that's where I think AI can humanize the experience, and is my hope of how things will turn out.
Absolutely. Let's shift a little bit back to the maybe nearer term. Um, With the expectations rising, how do distributors adapt? And what does that adaptation look like, let's say over a 3-year period, if you could look out that far?
Are you talking like just within AI or just in general?
No, no, particularly on the digital side.
Oh, yeah. I mean, so adaptation, this is the biggest thing. So when I sat before Proficient, I was running commerce and marketing in some different medical distribution organizations. One of which, when I left, we did 86% of our revenue through digital. It's a huge number, right? We were taking a ton of orders. I was hired in to kind of reformat how the site experience looked and rebuild it in a way that was conducive to what customers wanted. And I consider myself a knowledgeable person in the world of e-commerce. I spent my whole career there, but I am no smarter than any customer. I'm also no smarter or knowledgeable than any data point. So the first thing that I did when joining is looked at the data, talked to customers, talked to salespeople, talked to employees internally, and really got a deep understanding of what customers wanted, what frustration salespeople's had, and how the current existing site today frustrated the crap out of them. And all I really did is I took all that information and said, okay, well, we can build this much better this way. And that's what we did. And so from a digital standpoint, my recommendation is to always start there. Start with what you know about your customers. Your customers you have today are not the customers you had yesterday. Like I said, you're only as good as your last best experience. So if you built something on your commerce platform 6 months ago, maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. It's always good to continuously keep that pulse check with your customers. So start there with the data, start with what customers are actually looking for, and that will allow you to figure out maybe the next 12 months. Now, the next 24 months after that, because I think you asked the next 2 to 3 years, my recommendation would be, I know we talk a lot about personalization. That's going to extend over into the world of AI. And if you're looking to dip your toes in the water of I would look at starting with the agentic AI agents, which are the chat bots, if you will, that will live on your site that are being run by AI. That's the Mark example we just used. That is a great place to start because I would guess a lot of the questions customers have would be able to be answered by those agentic agents. So that's a great area to look to invest in. It's not overly an expensive initiative to take on. It does require connectivity to CRM and other backend technologies, but over the next 2 years, that would be one area that I focus in on. The next area that I would say to focus in on is looking at your current technology stack as well too. No one wants to do an ERP transition. I don't think anyone actively chooses that, so I won't talk about that. But I will talk about the commerce platform that you have in place today. I think it's important to understand the roadmap and ask the vendors you're working with, like, what does the next 6-12 months look like from a roadmap standpoint? How is AI being woven into that? And does that roadmap align to what your goals are as a business? Really take a gut check there to truly understand, is this the right solution for me? And then just prepare for the wave of AI. And I talked about this a little bit before, but brands and B2B organizations, B2C and B2B, are going to have to start to operate more like software companies. And what I mean by that is building commerce solutions or building technology that are API first, composable, where APIs can be open and talk to things like ChatGPT or talk to different distributed commerce channels. That is something a lot of platforms are building in. If we talk about the traditional monoliths, the Optimize, these Adobe's, HCL's, Shopify's, pick your poison. They're starting to build in that way because they see that it's coming. But I think organizationally, there needs to be a mind shift change internally of how we build and develop and deploy code because customers and buyers are going to be in many different channels in the future. So that would be on my 3-year roadmap. I know Jonathan, you talked about this before, like everything I'm talking about, I don't want you to feel like, oh my God, impending doom, tomorrow I got to do all this stuff, right? Like this is over the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years. But I think if you start thinking about it now and you start finding ways to incorporate some of the agentic capabilities into the day-to-day, you're going to be ahead of the game of your competition. And that'll be huge in ensuring customer loyalty, but also that you're operating efficiently. So I'd start in those areas.
Yeah, I think the core of what you started with was listening to your customers, right? And that's
Yep.
We all like to feel like we do, but I think you have to be very intentional about it. You know,
You do. And Brian, that's a great point. I mean, one of the best things that we did at the organization I was at before from listening to your customers is at the end of every transaction digitally, keep in mind, we had 86% of revenue coming through there. We had a lot of people ordering, but after every transaction, we gave everyone a survey. They didn't have to do it, but we included it. And it was as simple as like, how was your experience today? And I have to tell you that a lot of our backlog and product roadmap of extending the platform came from those surveys. People had things
yeah,
like, hey, like I was set up with order approvals internally, but like it only goes to my boss and not to my boss's boss. And they need visibility too. Like, is there a way to do that? And we're like, oh, we didn't even think about adding an extra field for email notification for more than one, approver. Yeah, we can absolutely include that. So Brian brings up a great point. Finding ways to continuously talk to your customers is going to be key. And again, salespeople are important too. Like they're having conversations, but when you play the telephone game with salespeople, sometimes you don't get it, the word from the horse's mouth. So I highly recommend, proactively encouraging feedback loops, like I explained on the end of that order channel. A lot of innovation, a lot of good ideas come from customers who are just like, it would be great if the site did this. And like I said before, like I know the world of e-commerce very well. And I'm sure everyone here does too, but our customers are the ones that keep the lights on. They don't owe us anything. They can easily go to another competitor every day. So to have that two-way communication is vital. And it also psychologically makes them feel part of the process because they are. Because after we built that new order approval workflow, I went back to the customer. I said, hey, thank you so much for the recommendation. I just want to let you know that you can now do this, and so can all of our other customers. And then they felt empowered because they help make the solution better. And that does a ton for loyalty. So it's positive on many fronts.
When you think about customer experience on the digital side,
Yeah.
what are some of the tools and processes that you recommend or use in measuring and improving the customer experience on the digital side? So I know Google they had a tool for digital CX measurement, right? I'm trying to remember the name of it, but curious what you and Proficient, what's in your toolbox there?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of, for measuring CX, like Net Promoter Score is always something good for sure. There's other like different, I can't remember off the top of my head, but visual tracking tools as well too, where you can actually record sessions and look at heat maps of how customers actively navigate through the site itself. So I think those are really good metrics to look at. You talked about Google, like Google Analytics or any sort of Power BI tool is going to give you good insight into customer behavior, which is always a good indicator of seeing what customers do. I think those would be some of the tools that I would kind of mention. Outside of that, I think there's nothing that is quite as important as talking to customers directly, though.
Yeah.
And that's something I'd recommend a ton. I mean, I'm all for the tools, and transparently, our digital marketing practice here internally probably has better tools than I do. But I do think that there isn't anything as good as getting on the road, going out to a customer, having a conversation, and understanding a bit of maybe what the data isn't showing, or maybe reading between the lines a bit more. So I think it's a blend. You can rely on data for sure, and data should guide decisions, but you always have to have the quantitative and qualitative mix. And, that would be kind of my recommendation, is to blend both together. And in the other piece of that too is like, personalization is only as good as your data. So if you don't have good customer data, if you're not leveraging a CDP, that can actually track dynamic one-to-one data points across different channels, then you're not going to be able to personalize the experience the way that you want. So it's a collection of things, but I'd say those are the big things I'd look to focus on.
One of the most astute members of our audience just pointed out, start with customer experience RX software. Call Jonathan. Okay.
thanks,
Uh,
Art.
thanks, Art. Um, okay. And then when we shift to personalization, that's been a promise of e-commerce for a long time.
Sure.
Can you talk about broadly where it's been, let's say 5 years ago? and I don't want to bit dive here, but just in terms
Yeah.
of um, how hard was it? How effective was it? How much was it used versus where it is now, and maybe also again where it's going?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I think it's always been challenging. And I think it still is, to be honest with you. I mean, we try, when I say we as an industry from a brand standpoint and a B2B standpoint, we try to personalize as best we can. But to be very transparent, I think a lot of the personalization, air quotes, has been done in sort of a blanket approach. Like Brian looks like Jonathan, and because they look alike and they have some similarities, we're going to send them the same email, or the same targeted content. And while that blanket type approach is probably better than doing nothing, it can have negative effects because Brian could be like, yeah, this is great for me, but Jonathan could be like, this doesn't align to anything I've looked at recently. Like, and it starts to create cognitive dissonance in your mind of like, why am I getting this? And you start to question other things about that experience, which isn't good. So I think it's always been challenging. And the biggest piece, again, always relies on the data. And do you have a good way to capture different data points from different things? Shopping on the website, CRM, conversations a salesperson had with that customer, taking a sort of online and offline approach, I don't think has ever really been done super effectively, at least in the B2B world. So I think the way that you can personalize is getting better. But this onset of AI adds a whole nother wrinkle and complexity to it because now these agentic AI solutions are in theory going to start to personalize in new ways and start to understand things like tonality and dialect at some point, which again just means that you have to double down on the data side. And that's what we tell folks, like, hey, we're interested in using AI for personalization, or we want to use AI for agentic conversations. And we always start with, where's your data quality? How are you organizing your customers and data points? What data points are feeding in to a centralized location, and how is the behavior of that customer changing the experiences in different channels? And that's really how you do personalization effectively. It's extremely challenging because most organizations have a really big data problem, or data challenges, I'll say. So what I'll say is that 5 years ago, personalization, I think, was good, but it's still hard. But the unfortunate part is the next 5 years, it's going to become even more challenging because it's really going to force the hand of organizations to fix their data problems before they can personalize the way they want to. So it's an evolution. I don't think there's a start and a finish line. I think it's something that is going to continue to evolve, but it's going to get more complex with AI. I can tell you that for sure.
So let me ask you a question on that one, Justin, because something I've been thinking about how to, this big challenge in distribution right now is you've got years and years and years of sales rep knowledge in their head about customer behavior, who this customer is. So you go from that general personalization to now here's Joe at this plant and this is what he's been all about, right? So now the AI tools are there to be able to start to transfer some of that. So you can sit down and talk with the sales rep and hear everything there is to know about Joe as a person.
Mm-hmm.
So you think about how do you take that kind of data, mix it with his product preferences. Now you can start to create a personalized difference. But it sounds like you're saying the data itself needs to be right before you even go down that other road.
But
Yeah.
it's actually more than that though, because what Justin's saying is that 5 years ago, the persona was based on maybe there were 5, 10, 15 personas and same number of segments, but a lot of it was based on just transaction history. And what you alluded to, Justin, is a much wider view of that individual than their transaction history and that persona and segment, right?
Yeah, 100%. Like, I'll give you a good example. So like in the world of medical supplies, there's capital purchases that happen. Say you have to buy 50 hospital beds for a post-acute care facility. That's a really expensive purchase. That is a purchase that any distributor in that space wants because it's massive. That is a longer sales cycle than someone buying vinyl gloves or incontinence products that they buy every week. But in hypothetically, let's say that customer let's say I'm the sales rep and I go in to see, Brian, who is, looking at buying these hospital beds. And I go in there and say, hey, Brian, how's it going? Like, this is kind of our quarterly business review. Want to talk through things. And he goes, yeah, I just heard that we're looking to make a capital purchase for hospital beds in probably 3 months. We're looking at these 3 different brands, but, I'm, just starting the process of maybe looking at that. And, I just wanted to bring it up. Oh, okay, great. Well, 3 months down the road, like, let us know what you might need from us, in that period or whatever. If the sales rep is doing his job, he can enter into CRM a flag that says hospital bed, capital purchase, 50 beds, close date, hypothetically, November 20th. Now, in a great personalized example with AI, that CRM is talking and communicating with a CDP or with a commerce platform. The next time Brian logs into the site, he shouldn't see a banner for respirators because he's not interested in buying that. He should see a banner and material around hospital beds so we can start to prime him for the rest of that period that goes on. If we're leveraging agentic AI, maybe the AI agent has a conversation with Brian and then says, hey, I'm glad I was able to help you find, some things today. Like, I understand that you're looking at hospital beds. I wanted to make you aware of this new study that came out with a brand that we support that showcases that, this bed is a new guardrail that reduces falls by 15%. The AI is having that conversation. Then Brian says, oh, this is great. Thank you so much. I'm going to, share it with my boss. Then the CRM is pulled in and off that conversation so that me as a sales rep can say, hey, I heard you might be looking at this new type of hospital bed that reduces falls. And you can see how this will snowball down the road. And that is the ideal euphoric state of what AI mixed with personalization, mixed with humans will look like, is everything is working together in a way that is queuing up content and information and education to capture that sale. And that is what I envision is kind of where we should all be driving towards, is working together with a human salesperson, with that autonomous AI agentic agent, with a commerce experience that actually pivots and changes content based upon the mindset of where that customer might be in that sales cycle. So that's how I would describe what it could look like.
Is anybody doing that today?
No, I shouldn't say no.
That you're aware of? Yeah.
The clients that, to that degree, I don't believe that it's happening. It probably is in some cases. I haven't seen it, with AI incorporated in that example. Again, it is possible for sure, but that's why I talk a lot about now, like, planning for what I just described now is great because it's going to take a couple of years for that to actually come to fruition and for, some of the AI tools to be able to do that use case. So I think there probably are some brands on the B2C side that are for sure doing that or experimenting with it. But transparently, even the agentic AI solutions and even AI in general still needs to get better. It's new technology, it's improving, it's working in some use cases, but it's going to grow and evolve, and it's going to, it's still, AI still has a hallucinations today. So, we try to work to minimize that as best we can, but to my knowledge, not a lot of folks are operating that way. But in the next, 5 years from now, you will see people do.
Yeah, this whole convergence story between AI and CRM and beyond is fascinating.
Yes. Yeah, it is. And that's the big piece of it too is, I talked a little bit about this with you guys before, but this idea of anthropomorphism, which is anthropomorphism is assigning human-like characteristics to non-human entities. So we do this with our pets, like our dogs. Like you want to go for a walk? Dog doesn't know, he can't talk back. He might know the word walk and what it means, but he's not a human. And we still treat our pets like humans though. And that is a really important psychological thing to think about, because when you talk about the world of agentic and AI, you're going to start to see, AI solutions be branded as people. And I think that's a good thing because it should humanize digital experiences that might feel disconnected. I talked about this with Mark, the Mark example before, of like maybe Mark talks in the tonality that Mark has, and maybe Mark likes to tell dad jokes, right? So the AI starts to weave that into conversation. So, I do think that is going to play a big role if organizations want to be successful. Now, Will all AI do that? No, not unless you tell it to. But I believe it's in the best benefit of organizations to have AI operate that way because it will create experiences that feel human-like, and that is always going to provide better customer experience and better revenue traction.
Let's talk a little bit about content design and commerce.
Yeah.
Um, why is it no longer enough to treat content design and commerce as separate functions in B2B?
Well, I mean, I think content creation, and you mentioned this before, Jonathan, but a couple of years ago, you might create content for 2 or 3 different personas, or you should be, right? If I'm selling medical products, there might be a doctor who's making a purchase who, might want to be very clinical with the descriptions and want to see graphical images of like, what wounds look like with different gauze or solutions. But if it's a stockroom, someone in the stockroom who's just a purchasing associate, he doesn't want to see those images, and he cares about the dimensions of the box to know if it's going to fit. So writing content for those personas traditionally, I think, is something that a lot of organizations should be doing, and that's not going to change. And I'll explain why, because and I'll answer your question of why is content and commerce, why should it be the same? And it's kind of the carriage of the horse. They're both needed. But you have to start thinking around content in the world of AI and AI generated content. If you ask ChatGPT to go find something for you, it's going to pull information back. Is it accurate? Maybe. Is it hallucinating? In some cases, probably. So if you're an organization, how do you put guardrails around that? And the only way that you can really do that is to build pre-built componentized content. So you're going to have to continue to keep doing that. That being said, content and commerce together is synonymous with conversion. If you have a product detail page that doesn't have an image or doesn't have a description, unless someone really needs it and they're being told to buy it, they're not going to purchase it. So you have to start to think about content in the same realm of commerce because it goes hand in hand with conversion. And a lot of B2B organizations that I'm working with are opening up their logins and allowing customers to come in and make purchases without having to authenticate. And content is so important for SEO, but also, like we talked before, for the chat GPTs of the world to ensure that they can get the right information and present it to that customer. So I think it's synonymous, it's needed. And there's a lot of statistics out there that showcase that really good content matched with a really good commerce experience elevates conversion and reduces abandoned cart rates and all the KPIs that we want. So it needs to be thought about together, but you have to think about content in a multi-persona way because every authenticated buyer has different needs. And that's why it's so important for salespeople to truly understand who they're talking to, because they're going to be able to help educate AI or educate the technology to build, experiences that are personalized to what that person wants.
So as you thought about this and have seen this in action, right? Because what you described earlier was utopia, and we'd all love to get there.
Yeah.
We all know distributors do not necessarily operate on the same margin levels as some other organizations. So resources are limited.
Yep.
Where would you say people should start, right? And what's the thing they should look at and just say, hey, I need to go do this because this is the end game. What do I need to start doing today to start down that road?
Are you saying like within content and commerce, within AI, just digitally in total?
It's just digitally in total, right?
Sure.
How do you think they should start approaching this idea of the utopia world of the agent coming into the system and providing customers the information that they need and want and at the right time?
Yeah, I think the biggest area for sure is looking at like the agentic AI solutions. Like if your distribution e-commerce site today doesn't have chat, even if it's a live person or not, that's step one. Like make sure that if you have CSR reps, have that chat be active because psychologically we're all looking for that anyways. So I would start there. It doesn't have to be AI focused, but you can work with technology that you should leverage to start with so that you can at least have the chat there and maybe Mark is actually answering the questions. That's a great place to start. Phase 2 of that is weaving in the AI tools to actually help answer some of those questions. I would start there. If you're leveraging a product information management system, great. If not, look at getting one. Reason being, a lot of the PIM partners out there are using AI to write product descriptions. So you can actually create content on the fly for your products and ensure that it's at 100%. The biggest challenge I had, one of the biggest in running commerce and marketing in the medical device side, is ensuring that product content was fulfilled at 100% with everything being, descriptions and images. AI through these PIM tools can help you do that. So I would start there for sure. Another area that maybe isn't as digitally focused, but more category management or brand side focused, look at creating private label lines. Create your own brand of, if you're selling vinyl gloves or you're selling whatever it is, look at creating a private label line that you can create your own brand on that will help you increase margin. That's another area that you could look at focusing in on. And you can do it in some categories that maybe aren't competitive to the channel conflict you might create with the manufacturers you're buying from. I'd also look at selling direct. Inherently, distributors are really, really good at the distribution of products. You have a lot of warehouses, you have warehouse management systems, order management solutions. You can distribute with Amazon-like SLAs, and manufacturers maybe can't do that. So if you're in the distribution space, look at building direct-to-consumer channels. Look at opening up your product catalog. There's going to be new subsets of customers that are coming into the world that are going to need to buy the products you're selling. So look at opening those floodgates, because I think it could be very profitable. Those are a couple. I would start there for sure. But I mean, again, even before that, you got to make sure that you're understanding who your actual customers are today. It's a big piece.
Love it.
Justin, this has been an enlightening discussion. I think we could go on for a while. You've got such an incredible wealth of background, which creates a very informed opinion. So thank you for sharing that with our audience today.
Absolutely.
Wanted to share a little bit about upcoming events here. So on September 10th, we have How Distributors Are Driving Employee Engagement. It'll be a panel with three HR leaders in distribution. Tracy Spondenberg, you might know, Rachel Schoolcraft from Marsh Electronics, and Tammy Lupton Dunn from the Boswick Braun Company. That'll be sponsored by Distribution Strategy Group's Employee Experience RX. Employee engagement is really a fascinating topic these days and more relevant than you know. On September 11th, the day after that, we're going to be getting an economic update, a forecast of M&A trends shaping distribution with industry expert Alex Chizovsky, Director of Analytics and Consulting at the Bundy Group. Thank you once again, Justin, and thank you, audience, for participating today, and wishing you all a great Wednesday.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Justin. It's good to see you guys.
Thank you. Bye.